seeds for 1 lakh, 2 lakh crore, if we get there, and when we get there, have already been sown. It's unlikely to be something dramatically new that we do. If real estate scales up and gets profitable in the next 3-4 years, that will make a difference. As IT comes back and Naukri grows, that will make a huge difference. If Blinkit succeeds the way we are hoping, that will make a difference. If Policy Bazaar continues to grow the way it is, that will make a difference. Above all, if the market stays intact, that will make a difference.
I may just add to that, there are companies like Recruit, for example. Recruit is a Japanese job board, and they, of course, have a global presence. I mean, just from that business alone, that company is worth 100 billion. So these are huge markets. You have to sort of just play your cards well. You have to keep focusing on the customer, on the user, and on solving their problems. It's not as if all the hiring in India happens through Naukri today. In the white collar space, maybe 30% of all hiring, 35% of all hiring happens through Naukri. So there's so much opportunity in the white collar space. And then there's a premium segment, there's a blue collar segment, there's recruitment software. India is fast becoming the back office of the world. It's the only country, where perhaps large country where the working population is still growing and is likely to grow for the next 10, 20 years.
Great. So we've discussed the operating business, that the seeds have been sown, and now it's a matter of time the businesses would be scaling up. But let's pivot a bit, Mr. Bikhchandani, and talk about your investee companies. 2 stars of your portfolio are Zomato and PB Fintech. I distinctly remember we had a conversation in February 2022, and the consumer tech and the fintech stocks were languishing at the bottom of the barrel. Market had lost all hopes. Zomato had plunged to 40 rupees. PB Fintech had plunged to about 400 rupees. A lot has changed after that, Mr. Bikhchandani. Why do you think these companies have been able to get pricing discipline back, and what has really pivoted them from cash burn to strong profits?
So I think that was a plan all along. When Zomato went public, they said within 2 to 3 years, we'll be profitable, and they were. Now, the surprise package, as far as the market is concerned, is the way Blinkit seems to be performing. And I think that made a huge difference. I think in Zomato, there's been flawless execution. It's not easy to scale a e-commerce business in India and make a profit. That's, I think, truly unique. Policy Bazaar, of course, got to profit as planned and scheduled and continues to grow. So again, that was planned. But, if you look at why the market corrected when it did, it was to some extent driven by external factors. When the Fed began to contract the balance sheet, I think there was global correction, and India followed suit within 6 months. And that's why the market corrected. But as these companies' performance came in, and as the Indian market rebounded, I think both these companies and InfoEdge also benefited.
No, so Mr. Bikhchandani, what would be that point at which InfoEdge would say that, look, I'm an investor in these companies and I've benefited because of that, but now as an investor, it is time for me to cash out. How far are you away from that in Policy Bazaar and Zomato, Mr. Bikhchandani?
So look, we're not married to the stocks and those companies, but as long as we see growth coming, and the fundamentals are improving every quarter, every year, we are in the business of maximizing value for our shareholders in the long run. Okay, we don't trade in these stocks. We're not stock market traders. And so as long as we see growth coming, I see no reason to sell. I was speaking to Rakesh Jhunjhunwala during COVID, over Zoom, and we were just discussing, it was just a shoot the breeze kind of conversation. He's also a co-founder of Ashoka University, so we had connected. And then we were discussing, investments in Zomato, Policy Bazaar, and he told me, Sanjeev, मैं एक चीज बोलूं? I said, क्या? He said, देखो, अगर एक बढ़िया company मिल गई ना, there's no reason why you shouldn't stay forever. So that's what I've done in Titan, and it's really worked. So think about it. So essentially, you're saying, think long term. You don't have to exit just because you have, you boxed yourself into being a financial investor. And if I don't earn cash, I'm not being true to my DNA. If there's growth in the company still, why not hang on? Unless you have some other better use for that cash.
What is your definition of growth when you say that you'll stay invested in these companies as long as there is growth? Do you see enough and more growth visibility for 3 to 5 years in these companies?
In both of these, yes. There is growth expected, visibility hai. Blinkit maybe, food delivery maybe. Now ticketing business maybe. I'll give you a story. In the last 2 weeks, I have got more requests for tickets for the Diljit Dosanjh show than I have got cumulatively for admissions to Ashoka University. And I'm wondering, I mean, there are no tickets. I'm wondering, I'm making so many enemies of all my friends. Yeah, I can't give you tickets. I can't give you tickets. And it tells me that they're onto something.
Mr. Bikhchandani, can I also make a request for that same concert and a ticket, please?
I'll put you in the queue here.
Hitesh, how do you see the job market evolving in the light of what is happening on the AI front? And the reason I'm asking this is because for Naukri, the mainstay in a sense was the IT business, which is where the disruption and the AI impact has happened. How do you see this impacting the long-term viability of your business?
So, our business growth is indexed to three things. One is, of course, India GDP growth, and think of that as non-IT growth. And then, of course, the growth in the IT services industry, because that's about half our business. And of course, what we do as a platform, how much we are able to innovate, how many new products are we able to launch, how are we able to do things differently. I think the Indian story is looking really good, and after a very long time, almost all non-IT sectors are fighting. So, I see no reason why 10 years from now, India will not have double the capacity it has today in the hotel industry, in the hospital sector, in real estate, in manufacturing. Name the sector. I think every sector is likely to grow for the next few years and grow at a healthy rate. The non-IT, the IT industry. See, there are two schools of thought on AI and its impact on the IT industry. One, of course, people believe that AI will make everybody more productive and therefore will reduce the need for workers or IT workers. But there is a second school of thought, which is that every time there's a new technology, the services business around the technology is many times more than the technology business, because you need an army of sort of programmers and people who can leverage that technology to benefit businesses, right? And that work, that heavy lifting will again be done by the Indian IT services industry. So let's see how that plays out. We are already deploying a lot of AI in our business. It's making us more efficient, but it's also opening up new opportunities.
Hitesh, as long as AI does not replace television anchors like me, I'll be in job. So please, I would request you not to get that technology on board. When you started as a company investing in startups were considered to be a high risk, high return investment. Valuations and the environment was very different. Today, startups are commanding a lot of respect, and a company like Zomato, which was a startup now, soon could be part of Nifty 50. So do you think now in your current kitty of 80 investment stocks, it would be difficult to find another Zomato or Policy Bazaar, surely in terms of returns and reward?
You never say never. I mean, back in 2019-20, Zomato wasn't Zomato the way it is today at the valuation and market cap, right? So it's 2019 में मेरे ख्याल से 2-3 बिलियन पे उन्होंने रेस किया था, और now it's 30 billion. Now to grow 10x on that kind of valuation base is quite remarkable. So Zomato and Policy Bazaar have exceeded our expectations. Could somebody else do it? It's possible, but it's not predictable.
So which is the next company from your investment kitty which could go public in next 2 or 3 years, Mr. Bikhchandani?
So there are, I think, 5 or 6 candidates, some in the strategic space, in the strategic investment space, some in the AIF, some in the balance sheet financial investments. I don't want to name anybody right now, but 5-6 hain, which over next 2-3 years, if market stays intact, IPO market continues, businesses keep growing, could make it. Right now, we have 3 listed companies. We've got, 4 actually: InfoEdge, Zomato, PB Fintech, and Ixigo. Ixigo, of course, went in late with a small check, but it is listed.
Hitesh, So let's connect the dots here, and we are talking about the next 5 to 10 year journey for InfoEdge, which is that operating businesses will become large. They don't require a lot of cash, which means a lot of cash flow will increase. On the other side, Mr. Bikhchandani hopefully will cash out some investments. He will get a lot of profit and he will get a lot of dividend because of that. So how do you see InfoEdge moving in terms of dividends, share buybacks? Mr. Bikhchandani just mentioned that they don't want to keep a lot of cash. So do you see next 4-5 years, a lot of buybacks, a lot of dividends increasing?
So a cash cushion gives you that comfort to do the right thing. And we believe in that. Now, at 4,500 crores, it looks like it's enough cash. Sure, if there's a massive exit somewhere and there is, substantial amount of cash, much more than we have right now, there will be an opportunity to perhaps give some of it back to shareholders, either through dividend or through buybacks. And that is something which we will evaluate then.
Yeah, Hitesh, anything you want to add to that?
I know we may have 4,500 crores, but there are tons of companies out there which have a lot more cash than we do in the internet space. And a lot of this cash is also customer advances because we collect the money in advance from our customers. And often they pay us for a year. And like Sanjeev said, we also need to keep some cash for a rainy day. And lastly, we also need cash for some exciting opportunities we may come our way and where we may need to actually move very quickly. We've been making a lot of small acquisitions, but every now once in a while we may be open to the idea of making a large acquisition as well, provided the right opportunity arises. Like we were discussing earlier, we could enter a fifth vertical through an acquisition at some point in time, or if we see an opportunity to consolidate in one of our verticals, cash allows you to do that at that time. But you're right. If the Naukri business continues to generate a ton of cash and the other businesses also become profitable, then one of our jobs as a management team is to find uses for that cash and to look for new opportunities to invest.
Mr. Bikhchandani, you quoted late Rakesh Jhunwala, and I distinctly remember he had shared with me once that when he started his investment in his career in the public market, his mother told him that if you start your career as a stock market investor, shaadi nahi hogi, because the 1980s and 1990s stock market was not the place to be in. Similarly, when you started investing in the startup business, it was like a business which was difficult to understand, but today it is becoming a mainstay. And a lot of young folks and a lot of our young audience members here, they want to build a career in the startup space. What would be your advice to those who are now looking at building a career, or perhaps want to join a family office and are now really in the quest to find the next Zomato or the next InfoEdge or the next Policy Bazaar? Mr. Bikhchandani.
देखो, मैं दो चीजें बोलूंगा to not answer your question, but then I'll answer your question. पहले तो जब हमने स्टार्टअप में इन्वेस्ट करना चालू किया था, हितेश और मेरी दोनों की शादी हो चुकी थी. So that risk did not exist. Second, when Hitesh was joining the company in 2000, we had just about not yet raised venture capital. He was going to get married just then. तो मैंने उसको बोला पहले शादी कर लो, हनीमून से आ जाओ, फिर join. Okay, so when he joined the company, he was already married, right? So he did not have that risk. But having said that, listen, I mean, the environment has changed. I think it is now socially acceptable for talented, educated young people to consider a startup, either starting one or joining one at the beginning of their careers, and not take up a job in a large company necessarily. And that's a big change over the last 25, 30 years, I think. Startups have become respectable. And a lot has to do with the fact that some have succeeded, that there's now funding available. The fact that if you have experience as an entrepreneur and you go back to a job in a large company, you're not called a failure. In fact, experience as an entrepreneur in a startup is valued by the large corporations. So काफी कुछ बदला है, and इसलिए लोगों का mindset भी बदला है.
Fair point. So Hitesh, final question. I've always admired the fact that you've been very forthright, very honest. You call spade a spade. When business is good, you acknowledge it. When business is bad, you admit it. So in that same spirit, I'm asking this question because I've never had both of you together on ET Now. So my question to you, Hitesh, is that what is that one thing you just don't like about Sanjeev bhai? You don't like it at all.
What I don't like about Sanjeev, I think he still works too hard.
And Mr. Bikhchandani, what is that one thing you love about Hitesh? Ulta puchte.
The fact that he's on top of everything operationally and operating businesses are ekdam tich.
अच्छा, अब दोनों के लिए एक सवाल. What is that one thing you love about ET now? चलिए.
The fact that you ask such probing questions and you've done your homework and research.
What I love about you, Nico, especially, and ET now, of course, is that you guys are also very aggressive. You also operate like a day one company. You're all constantly fighting to get all of us onto your program all the time.
Well, it's been such a pleasure and an honor to have you every time on the channel. I look forward to our engagements. I learn a lot. Our viewers learn a lot. And it's been so nice to really celebrate this, landmark from humble and simple beginning, from an unknown brand to an unforgettable franchise, and now commanding market cap of 1 lakh crore. Congratulations, guys. Thank you for joining us and good luck going forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.